Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. A bit fresh today in the workshop. Yes, it reminds me of my idol Free to Cycle. He's always covered up because maybe he's fresh as well in his workshop. I'm here with my Velobuild. I actually finished it off in November, but then I've been away, so I couldn't really complete the bike. As you can see, there's a slight chimney poking out that I need to address. Apart from that, it was not difficult to complete the bike. I kept all the cables connected to the handlebar and I guided through the cables on the new bike. So everything worked really well. Bottom bracket went in straight away. The threads were very clean, so it wasn't difficult to thread the bottom bracket in and slide the crankshaft. Two specialist tools that were extremely valuable: small tube to guide through the cables, and a metal hanger like this was needed to collect the cables from underneath the openings and guide them through the frame. But today the main aim is to cut the fork and slam the position all the way. This is not a particularly complex operation, cutting the forks of the steerer. You need hacksaw with a 32T blade or a specific carbon blade. Then indispensable is the guide for your saw and have a precise cut when you do it. Sandpaper, fine sandpaper to finish it off the top of the steerer when you're done, and a screwdriver to mark where you need to cut. So, more importantly, we need to know where to cut. You get it wrong and you ruin the fork and it's not usable anymore. With the fork removed, we can see the components of the steerer. So starting from the fork, it will have a crown, a metal ring to form the base for joining the bearing at the bottom of the head tube, and we'll have another bearing on the top with a metal ring to hold the steerer in place. On top we will have a dust cap that is going to cover the top bearings and a small spacer to form the base for the stem. The main issue here is to have enough compression for the fork not to wobble within the bearings, and at the same time offer something that is going to reinforce the steerer from the clamping force of the stem. We do have the compression plug that is going to have both functions. One is to offer a reinforcement for the steerer where it needs to clamp, so it's not going to be a hollow tube that the clamp is going to squeeze, but it will have quite a strong surface inside and safe position for the steerer to apply its force. Plus, the compression plug will also be the way how we pull up the fork to actually compress the bearings and avoid any wobble. Inside the compression plug, a bolt will be threaded in, will pull up the fork and secure the whole component. It is vital then that between the top of the compression plug and the bottom of the top cap will be enough space to apply some force and ensure that all the bearings are compressed. 3 mm of free plate. This is the key element that you need to make sure happens when you cut the fork. What is difficult is actually to understand where the top cap will bottom out on your compression plug. This is because some of the top cap have a protruding element that goes downwards that it might interfere with the compression plug. I do prefer a flat top cap. This is a carbon fiber one I got from eBay, quite cheap, because I know with these ones that I can cut the fork exactly and leave the necessary space for me to compress the fork. I can also use a 5mm spacer on top, having the compression plug slightly poking out of the stem, have my 5mm spacer and make sure that I do have my desired 3mm left, so when the top cap is applied nothing is going to bottom out, actually prevent my fork to come up, and I will be able to compress the steerer as intended. Now I know that this is my desired setup. I can cut the fork flush to the top of the stem, and I know that when I put the compression plug, my 5mm spacer on top, I will have enough space to compress the bearings. I had to interrupt the broadcast from the workshop to thank Sirocco about the winter kit. Yes, this is the sponsor time, and really I'm so happy that Sirocco has sent me the winter jackets. This is the J3 soft shell and was extremely useful for this week where temperature went from between -2, -3, -5 in the morning, and it was very hard to ride to work in those conditions. The J3 is really one of my favorite jackets. Soft shell fabric, withstand the wind, maintain the heat from the body. It's got lots of zip pockets, a very clever design. And the J1 as well has been one of the main staples for me for this winter commute. It's slightly thicker and it's got a nice cut that helps you when you are in the position. Now the J1 has just been updated from Sirocco. The original design had the zipper pocket at the back, 2 main compartments. I can understand that for some the slightly more difficult access to the back pocket wasn't ideal. So this is the new one, the updated version of the J1 with now traditional pockets at the back. Maintain the same characteristic of warm and water repellent properties. And finally, I received their newest collection, the Deep Winter Collection. This is a very nice jacket, soft shell, but is slightly lighter on the arms. The chest has got a padded compartment to maintain the heat where you actually need it. And newest gloves, thermal gloves, they are going to help me, filling my hands in the coldest morning rides. As usual, if you would like to shop for Sirocco kit, you can use my link. You will have a 10% discount on top of all the available discounts, and you help me a little as well. Thank you, and back to the workshop to finish the fork cut. Now is the time of the cutting. I think I got it right. It's positioned here on the fork. Got my blade, mask up. You don't want to breathe carbon fiber in your lungs, and wish me luck. Everything seems to have gone in the right direction. Quite a nice cut. I'm going to use some sandpaper just to clean off the top edge, and I'm going to refit everything together. I have my fork back in place. I put the compression plug inside. Make sure your stem bolts are loose enough. We position the stem back in place. I forgot to mention to add some carbon paste to the steerer tube where it clamps. It helps retaining some friction so you don't have to squeeze so hard the stem bolts. You need of course to just nip up the top cap, make sure that the fork assembly doesn't wobble, then you need to clamp the stem bolts at the required force. And I can't wait to ride this beast on the road. I'm half frozen, so yeah, my capabilities are slightly decreasing. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!